Well, none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots, yeah. None of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots. I'm telling you now, the truth. Telling you, yeah, the truth, the truth. You have to go back to the roots, the roots. Go to the roots, to the roots. Yeah, man, you know, this is Benjamin out of the Smiling Coast, West Africa, Gambia, representing for the one and only Abu, the big man you don't know, the Soninke warrior, the man that brings the truth, Soninke warrior, the sign of enlightenment, the Soninke warrior, the righteous and the true African. Abu, reveal the truth to them, you know, no matter how them try to run from it, because none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Yes, we have to dig back the roots, yeah. Fire!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Afridamus Report. I'm your host, Afridamus. I want to welcome all of you to today's edition of the Afridamus Report. Happy 2022 to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about culture and race. You know, Africans, for instance, of all stripes, of whatever part of Africa people come from. If you notice, the people tend to be very, very obsessed with culture. And I notice people that are very, very obsessed with culture tend not to be able, to understand that the way they look at their culture, the way they perceive it to be superior, other people don't connect that way. They don't see it that way. So there's always that issue. So if you look at most African cultures, which is based in tribes, I think I'm very, very qualified to speak on this issue because I'm from a tribe from West Africa. Very, very, my tribe is very, very culture oriented. And on top of that, you add religion to that. So I understand the cultural politics, and even amongst Africans. Some Africans look at other Africans as less than. They're like, oh, those people don't have culture. So now I noticed that even in America, in the Western world, where, to come to America, to be quite honest, for Africans and people from other parts of the world, is a come up. It is a come up because, America is the superpower, the most powerful country in the world, the richest, and it's got a lot more opportunities. So when Africans come to America, many, and you have to look at it, people come from different regions of Africa to the United States. And these people are coming from tribes, very cultured, where freedom of expression is not as it is in the United States. So now Black people, being Americans, they have what they call freedom of speech. This is their culture where they express themselves, whether you like that expression or not, but they do, it's normal for them to express themselves. So coming from an African culture where freedom of expression is stifled, I can see how, because when I ask, what do you mean by Black Americans don't have a culture? The first thing is the things they say, number one, and they will talk about their behavior. But this cultural thing, this culture war, I should call it, I see it even amongst Africans from the same countries. I see it all the time. But you see, the way I was raised, to be quite honest, in my culture, they believe our culture is superior to anyone's culture. It doesn't matter white, black, blue, or green. But before we get into that, let me show you the meaning of culture. Okay? Let me show you the meaning of culture. Hold up. Okay, so let us, I'm going to show you, the dictionary's meaning of culture so that we all know, you know, what we are talking about here and what we're going to agree on. Because the last time, 2 shows ago, the Africans and the Black Americans, were going at it pretty hard. And I noticed the Africans keep bringing up culture, they're trying to say Black Americans don't have a culture. And they try to use slavery to shame Black Americans with it. So I want to address all that here today. Lay it out. Let's have this conversation. So that, because you guys remember, even in the Somali conversation, right? It got to a point where some other people, it became like a tribal war where one is saying, our tribe, sold your tribe into slavery. It's like a badge of honor. And I noticed people were saying that to Black people in the chat. But then when you meet Black people too, also, they would tell you about how Africans are colonized. So that's where I come in the middle, because you see, I understand how the African, in general terms, is thinking from the tribal perspective and the quote unquote the culture. And Blacks also are obsessed with race because that's what their culture is entails. So they see things through the prism of race, like Africans see things through the prism of tribe, and this culture thing. But let's look at what culture is. And I don't want people to try to move the goalposts, if they feel like the definition doesn't fit their imagination of what they want it to be. Okay? And also, before you use your culture as a yo-yo, for instance, let's find out if the person you're trying to use this against, if they even care about it. Do they think of it the way you think, the way you think of it? Is it the same as the way they see it? We have to establish that as well. Here, let me share this. Here we go. Okay, got it up. All right, as you can see here, this is from Webster's dictionary. It was around since 1828. This is a fine dictionary, as you can see, set up by some white person named Merriam-Webster. I mean, it's not a Black dictionary, so you can trust it. Okay. So culture says here the beliefs, customs, arts, etc. of a particular society, group, place, or time. People, I want you to remember this. So what they are saying is the belief system of a group of people. What they admire is what becomes their culture, a society. So we would agree that even the connotation calling black the Black people in America, referring to them as Black American, right then and there, you cannot use your cultural, norms, your cultural standards, you know, on them, just as they cannot use their standard on you. Because now you are all operating outside a complete different system. But I see where the connection is. Because since Black people are obsessed with, the Blackness, skin color, they see Africans like, okay, you're supposed to think like us. And then the Africans, because another mistake Black people in America do, they call themselves African. So now the African is going to use the cultural standard of what they deem to be culture. But internationally, let's just be honest, internationally, you know, prior to me coming to America, or people that are outside of America, people would use word like, oh, black culture. We know that there is a black American culture, something that is called black American culture. But what people do is, I notice, um, because I've played the devil's advocate here in previous shows, where, because I'm looking at exactly when people think black American, especially Africans, what they're thinking. Because it's a lot of many of the people in the chat, they don't live in America, but even some that live in America still do bring up the cultural aspect of saying black Americans do not have culture. But around the world, including many African countries, young people, because of media, right? They are the black American culture is what is featured as being cool. And it's been that way even prior to the internet or social media being popular. I mean, I'm telling you, since back when they had MTV, since back they had MTV and all that. So if you look at it, you come to a point where the popular culture is what is put up as Black American culture. And one aspect of that culture, rap, rap started, as a militant black people, militant blacks, standing against, oppression. Yeah. So that's how rap came about. Because if you go back and listen to, you know, um, old school rap, they would pretty much rap is telling you the news of their life story, what is happening in their neighborhoods. So they rap about that. And sometimes there are beefs, but drama, people shine the light more on drama. So TV shows that, and people run with that as black culture. And Africans were bringing that in the chat. And Africans themselves, many that I know that are into popular culture, they themselves, that's what they consider to be cool. I know some people are gonna get defensive and say, "Oh, no, 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 I don't see that as being cool," but I'm I'm going by what I know, what I have seen. I'm not just some guy sitting on social media. That's just where my interaction is with people. Because many people, when they are talking, they're not talking from a realistic point of view. In fact, they don't they don't even live in America. The only way they socialize with Black Americans, for instance, is on the internet. That's it, on the internet, not in real life. So I'm telling you, in real life, you know, what people are like, how people think, and being around different Africans. Generally, you would see mostly Nigerians and Ghanaians seem to be the ones who are into this culture thing, culture thing, especially when it comes between them and Black Americans. Because, like, I'm from Gambia. Um, I generally really don't hear Gambian people talk about whether Black Americans have culture or not, because different people relate to Black Americans in different ways. Some people, some who are into sports, those are the type of Black Americans they will know. Some who are into music, those are the people they know. But the point is, especially Africans generally, from my part of Africa, their understanding of America from when I was growing up, the connection is because many people, they think, okay, I'm coming to America to become black, whatever that means. They're saying, I'm coming to America to become black because black people in America, they popularize the black skin. So that's what they identify with. And when you come to America, they would even separate it. It's not like a forceful thing, but our common interactions, you understand? Okay, the African dude, the black dude, we know this difference. But then when you're talking to people, you start having the conversation, they're like, oh, you're bringing differences. No, it's not differences. When you try to make the conversation cordial, they don't want to have that conversation. They call it a divide. In fact, this conversation that I'm having with you guys here right now, I want to give a shout out to the viewer that sent me a video yesterday. Did you guys know a young YouTuber on here, Mr. Uganda? He lives across the pond in the UK. So he had issues with my shows, these shows that I'm putting up. People, listen to this, for instance. I mean, this is not off subject. You would see the connection in a minute. If someone makes a video, and in this video, not only are they disagreeing with you, they are taking personal shots at you, and then they make a statement such as, oh, we're going to form alliance, and this is why people are going to get doxxed. Is that not a threat? But again, this is why it's important for us to talk about this culture thing. And it's such a coincidence. This 2022, this is the onion I want to peel to lay it out. If, is there any such thing as flat blackness? Because he kept talking about community, our community. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I never knew I was part of your community. I've never been to the UK and I'm not from Uganda. Are you basing it on skin color? Because a lot of the people, like, I don't want to pretend. Like, I like to interact with different groups of people to understand where they're coming from, their mindset. I'm not one to just go around pretending that I know, or I'm better than other people, or I'm high and mighty to a point, I can just assume that just because you black, I'm black, we all think alike. No, you might be from another area of Africa. Like he's from, I guess England via Uganda. And I've met I know Ugandans here in the United States, few of them, couple. And honestly, like, these are nice people. Like, their culture and my culture is completely different. But now, these differences, people are seeing it, they are seeing it as an attack. They're trying to attack other people with it. They're using it as a war. Because if you remember, a few shows ago, when I had the Somali show here, that's what Mr. Uganda was talking about. He used it as drama. He used the word diaspora war. And my thing is, I don't understand what they mean by this war. I've been living in America for a long time, before the internet was this popular. People, some of you remember dial-up? Remember when people had dial-ups and it was only Hotmail or Yahoo, and people only had pages as well, no texting? Imagine today you're giving direction to someone, MapQuest. You guys remember that, right? Or you tell them the exit and the closest Jack in the Box or Target. That's how people used to give directions. The reason why I'm telling you this is because back in those days, you have to truly, it's not like, oh, I gotta go on Instagram. There's no such thing as Instagram back then. You have to meet people and interact with them in real life. So all these, you're living across the pond in the UK and you're from Uganda, so you don't live in this society that I speak of. The way this society is set up, the the way people interact with each other, you just know it through the internet. I'm speaking on real life. So it's okay for you if you don't connect with it, that's fine. If you don't like what I'm saying, that's okay too. But you want to dox me? I talked about Nigeria. He had no problem with it. I talked about many Black African countries. He had no problem. But I talk about Somalis. He he is going to dox me. He's gonna come and attack me. Is he a Somali? Is he a Somali? He's not. But I don't want to dwell on that. They use the word war. They call it the diaspora war. But what is this war about? Are Africans and Black Americans the same groups of people? I don't think so. Black Americans are Americans. You have some who believe they are African Americans, who they still have the connection to Africa. That's cool too. But as far as I know, somebody coming from Africa, from a tribe, and understanding tribal interactions and the way the people think versus the way people think in America in general, not just Black people, is completely different. It's completely different because in America, the European culture is the dominant culture. So some people are going to deny and say, "Oh no, 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 I was in a city, I don't think like white people." Well, great, you're still Black, but it doesn't mean that you are not operating in a Western standard. And to be honest, many Black people you meet in America, not different than most white people. So this is why sometimes, you know, I think Africans tend to be very hypocritical in this because they say, oh, Black people in America see Africans, X, Y, and Z way. But when you talk to white people, the same thing they're seeing on TV, Black Americans are seeing the same thing. Just like, how people bring up Chicago, that's not a representation of the whole of Black America, but it's in the news, it's in social media. Or when Baltimore, that's still not, think about it, 40 million people, that's just a fraction. Just like when they show Darfur or some African country where there's war, most Africans probably heard about some countries having a war when they came to the United States and met people from that country or saw it on the news. They probably never even heard of that country. But when people see you, because of the way the news is presented in America, they are going to say Africa. So therefore, a Black American, if they're interacting with you, if they don't know, they're going to tell you what they saw on TV, just like the white person would tell you. But now, there's a new trend that I have been seeing where, I get it. Some Africans get offended when people talk about how poor Africa is. Like if you guys remember, people used to try to insult me and say, oh, Gambia is poor. I'm like, tell me something I don't know. You don't think I know this? I know this. Why do you think I'm not there? So So, like Africans, many I started seeing, they pretend like people don't know that their countries are poor. My thing is, I understand the difference between having, minerals and being rich. Sierra Leone has tons of diamonds, but it's one of the poorest countries in the world. There's a difference. If you can have, if you tell me, oh man, you can, it's like having 20 million in monopoly money. Yeah, it looks like money, but it's not real money. It's not real money. So you have the Africans talk about culture and their pride, and now they talk about, oh no, Africa is the future. Africa is the this. I don't want to talk about 1869. I don't want to talk about 2030. I want to talk about 2022. That's what's real. That's what's happening today. So we we've established through the dictionary definition that yes, indeed, Black Americans do have a culture because culture is man-made. It's how people socialize with each other. And then another thing they raised, they said, "Oh, you Black Americans, you don't even know your forefathers." What do they mean by forefathers? Your grandparents, your great grandparents. Many Black Americans, majority in fact, do know their people, their lineage. Don't forget that. Just because people like to use the slavery. So that's even a perfect thing because this, everything was recorded. Everything was recorded as in Africa, especially in West Africa. West African languages, none of these African languages have a written form. It's a word of mouth. So, word of mouth, I mean, how accurate, honestly, sometimes can it be? Maybe that's another reason why Africa is stagnant because some dude passed some word to somebody and, it's like no new information is coming. So, for all we know, you know, um, if it's not written, guess what? It didn't happen. So, like I said, looking at the chat, that inspired me truly to bring this on because a lot of people are moving with their emotions. You know, people are taking pride in things that doesn't even make sense. You would hear people talk about, oh, they want to take pride in we were not enslaved, we were not colonized. In today's day and age, none of us are. None of us are. So, so people, when people are taking these shots, I said, you know what? Let's have this conversation. Let's have the conversation. And you guys know these conversations, they are hard for many people because people like to be loud. People have so much chip on their shoulders. When I even honestly look, I have nothing against any Africans coming here saying, oh, we are the best in Africa, we are the this, we are that. Cool. That's fine. That's what you guys want to do. I know that I'm not going over there. I'm cool with where I'm at. Being best or not is all based in your thought process. Again, that comes with the culture. Despite Black Americans having the culture that, you know, is exported all over the world, um, it's a dominant culture. It's the most dominant Black culture in the world. Because I've seen Africans who they live in Europe, they would tell me stories about how in Germany they would try to lie and say they are from the United States. Like they would say things like that. So, are you guys telling me right now, to be honest, let's just keep it 100. Just because Black Americans, their ancestors were enslaved, you're translating that to saying they don't have a culture? Do you guys honestly see the hypocrisy here? The reason why I'm saying this, I've seen some Africans who would make this argument. It's just like, okay, back in the days, I'll give you example. Every black female you meet, you know, they are mixed with Indian and Irish. They are mixed with everything except African. Okay. And then you run into Africans, they are all, princes. They are all, because back in the, I'm telling you, a time is hard. I mean, mostly you just see, younger guys, not, a bunch of females, because it's not social media. But the Africans are princes and, the president's, 19th cousin, especially the people that are coming from around those Central African regions. In fact, they don't only pull these stories on just Black Americans, they pull it on us West Africans as well. I'm just telling you what the trend was, and I'm seeing that on the internet as well. You have, so like you meet a Black American woman generally, but they would say they are mixed with Indian, they like the Indians, Indian, Irish, and they will tell you all this, except African. And you're standing there, you're like, I know you look like me, but hey, if you don't say you have African, who am I to say you do, right? But that same individual, bring her around white people. They wouldn't claim none of that Indian stuff. They would be 100% African. 100% African. So it's the same thing. You would see African telling Black Americans how, they don't have culture whatsoever. But that same behavior, same thing they are pointing out, saying it's not a culture, they would go around white people, and white people would be doing the same thing. In fact, those white people will be copying those Black Americans that they consider not to have culture, but they would accept that as culture. So to me, it's selective. It's selective because the way I operate in the world, like I said, I came from a culture, small tribe where, you know, what they believe in this superiority thing, that our culture is better than any other culture. But it's not like we go and try to enforce it on other people. In fact, other people are not even good enough to be a part of our culture. That's how great, our culture is. I want you guys to listen to what I'm telling you right now. So somebody right now might be like, Afridamus, what do you mean? Your culture is greater. People from my culture, they don't even care enough. You're not even good enough for them to explain that to you. Like, the attitude is, who are you for me to explain myself to you? So there are people who truly like, so I'm not like some guy just speaking, saying whatever. I have observed this. I came from that. I've seen it. And, throughout my life, how it plays out. So maybe this is why I am such an expert in being able to see these things and observe it. Because you see, like some of the things that even you see these Africans, other Africans are writing or saying. Imagine if I truly believe in the way our teachings are, I wouldn't be able to assimilate with other people. I wouldn't be able to communicate with other people. I would pretty much lock myself out. Reason why I'm saying that, because I know many who are that way. So when you look around Africa, it is not, it's like, I believe truly the way, you see the Africa you see is because they are not open minded. They're not open to other people. Everybody think their culture is great. So you would see African be part of Black American group, and they would they would say, oh, these people don't have a culture, but then they pretend to be a part of that culture. They would pretend to be a part of it. In fact, they would even give speech on behalf of that culture. They would speak on behalf of that culture. Because like in America, Black Americans are operating as Americans, where, okay, if you express yourself and your thinking aligns with our thinking, with the same skin color, then guess what? You're Black too. Africans don't think that way. And that was proven in my comment section a few days ago. This is why you would see, because like people, when they talk about it, you would even see a common African criminal. I see it here all the time. Like those of you that are in America, Pookies and Ray Rays. Not every Pookie and Ray Rays are Black Americans. Some of these people you see are Africans. I've even seen, like I know someone personally, a couple of them, they hang out in the hood. They are friends with Pookies and Rares. They're Africans who, when they come here, they they just cannot function in other part of America, Greater America. The only place they can function in is Black American hoods. But sometimes even those African Pookies and Rares would try to say, oh, these people don't have a culture, and I'm like looking at him, like you're doing what Pookie and Ray Ray is doing. They are all doing the same exact thing. They are both selling, weed. They both got several baby mamas. And so what's the difference? So this is why I wanted to show you the definition of culture. Some are not going to like this, but it is the truth, you know? And when Africans say culture to Black Americans, have you ever asked Black Americans, for instance, do they want to practice this culture? Like, do they even care? What do they know about it? You have some whose minds are Wakandanized, but even those people, look at them when they come to Africa, when they come to African countries that are not developed. I mean, they're like not like South Africa. You guys know most of these countries they go to. They would say, "Oh, this is what and what they should change. This is." Trust me, they are not being mean. Even though I've made fun of many here, they are not being mean. They are they feel guilty. They're coming from a place where maybe at one point they think they had less than, and then they find themselves in Africa somewhere. They're like, oh, hell no. Because like I'll tell you right now, like I've worked in a prison before here you know in the state penitentiary, and I can assure you, you know most of we've seen things like people like to say, oh, Black people, you go into prison whatsoever. The prisons I've worked in, I don't know what you're seeing on TV. I'm talking about real interaction. you know I'm not trying to be mean, but those guys you're looking at, they would rather stay in that prison than go to some of these places in Africa, because they have way more in that prison. I worked there. I know this. I've seen it with my own eyes. I'm just trying to paint a picture for you to get an understanding. Like when you speaking of culture, Black American is speaking of, you know, what are you talking about me? Talking about culture to me. You know, I'm not interested in where you come from. I don't want to go to Africa. I see Africa on TV. That's what they will tell you. So people are not getting that understanding. So when we meet here, it's like trying to mix oil and water. And Africans do have that superiority complex about their cultures. They do. Because I've even heard, like, for instance, you would hear like a Gambian person saying, oh, those people over, those Kenyans, they don't have a culture. So to me, my understanding is, okay, let me ask the question. Are they asking this in terms of saying, okay, if you are not practicing my culture, so therefore, I only consider mine to be superior. So if you're not identifying as that, then you don't have a culture. Like your culture doesn't count. I believe that's the understanding. So I'm going to open up the lines here. I want people to stick to the topic, be brief. Um, I would especially encourage both, Black Americans and Africans to call in. Uh, People, please, like I said, it's like mixing oil and water. So I get it. Some of you might want to come here and talk about how dusty Africa is and all. Trust me, we already know. At this channel, we already know that. So let's not touch the dusty part. Let's talk about the culture here today. Okay? Let's forget about, you know, how dusty, Equatorial Guinea is or not. Everyone here and their mama already know how dusty the place is. So let's be nice, okay? I mean, stick with the topic. Okay, here we go. The lines are open. I mean, everyone is encouraged to call in, to be quite honest. Um, let's be polite. We can agree to disagree, but no profanity. Okay? So, people, if you remember a couple days ago, oh, good, here we have Nagmizi. We have Nagmizi for 2022. So, let's see here.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Hey, my Blackfoot brother. It's good to see you. Your
Say-
live's been popping. I appreciate you, and this is another great topic. Thanks for having me on. And shout
Thank
out
you.
to the chat. Shout out to the chat.
Yeah, I was actually. Oh, do you have your YouTube open?
No, but I have headphones in. I
How about now? Okay, much better. Can you hear me?
okay, good. Yeah, I got some cheap headphones from Albert Hain, so I took them out.
Yeah. So so when we talk about culture, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So have you heard Africans say Black Americans do not have a culture?
Before I heard Africans say it, and I'm being honest here, I've heard Caribbean people say it
Okay.
constantly from Caribbeans, even more so than Africans. All right.
That's that's interesting because generally even most Africans I know, like, I'm not sure how much interaction they have with Caribbeans out here, but we generally tend to look at Caribbeans to be much closer and more mingled in with Black Americans.
Wow. Yeah, we see it the opposite as Black Americans. There seems to be African and Caribbean alliance, which I call a marriage of misery. You'll hear a lot of diasporans from the Caribbean when they go to certain places in Africa. They say, "Oh, it looks just like home." And what they really mean, I know we're not talking about dust today. What they really mean is lack of infrastructure and things of that nature, and also foods. While in America, our situation was different. So our culture was a culture that was created under duress. Our culture was created and redefines itself all the time. It changes. That's why it's the most popular Black culture in the world.
Yeah. So would you? I don't know if you've heard, some of the things I've said, as far as Black American culture operating, solely, being totally American, which is you guys have a sense of freedom.
Are you saying that we do have a sense of freedom? Absolutely.
Yeah, where because Black Americans express themselves openly than Africans. So to
Right.
me, knowing the African mindset, right? I know when there's anytime they point to say you don't have a culture, because me myself, I would see some people, they would even tell me, "Oh, you are not African." But when they say that, they don't mean me physically. They are talking about how, you know I'm I'm free. I'm open. I'm open to hearing different perspectives. I'm open to interacting with different people.
Yeah. But
And
Black America. Go on.
and I see that mostly with like Black Americans are more open that way than African.
And it goes all back to, like I was saying, under duress. You'll know that a Black American's attitude, or I don't want to call it swag, but just our characters are almost the opposite of many Africans. Like we talked before, and we said, like, and if an African knows that you're lying, or that you're just talking BS, they might just smile and you walk away, but like, oh, this guy's an idiot. Whereas a Black American is going to tell you straight in your face, and that comes from, our social surroundings. Okay, causes you to be direct. Okay, it hardens you sometimes, but we also have very big hearts as well. So our culture is made out of being a rebellious people, being a revolutionary people, being a resourceful people. So we take the throwaways from the pig, and then we create something out of that. So our culture is based on change and living under duress, and we just change constantly. So yeah, we are different.
Okay. So when you hear, especially last time in the chat, right? When you see people say, "Oh, Black Americans don't have culture; they base it off of slavery," and like, does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't make sense because they're using an African model for
Hmm.
people of African descent. It's
Yes.
not the same. I would say, if I'm going to explain it like juice, and if you guys heard this analogy, I apologize. A Nigerian would be orange juice. A Ghanaian would be grape juice. Um, a Gambian would be lemon juice. Black Americans are fruit punch. Okay, we're a mixture of
Mixture.
everything, so we have a different taste. And honestly, everyone loves fruit punch, right? So when they try to talk about our culture and use it in an African, from an African standpoint, what they're doing is basically saying that my culture, my Black American culture, doesn't mean anything because I share a skin color. So I should be basing my culture on theirs. And if you
Yes.
really look at it, you talk about culture. Culture is based, it's societal norms,
Right.
okay? Uh, Traditions and things of that nature.
So,
African stuff is based in old traditions.
oh,
Ours are
yeah.
new, totally different.
Yes. Okay. Let's see here. I have another person here. Okay, we have DMF. Okay, DMF, welcome to the show.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. Yeah, we can hear you. So DMF, what's your perspective on Africans
What you
thinking
saying?
African culture is like Black Americans don't have a culture, so therefore African culture is superior. Do you see it that way?
I don't think any culture is superior. I think each should their own. I just believe
Right.
that people just live how they want to live and they do how they want to do. You see what I'm saying? I don't believe that, everyone should be segregated to, how obviously if maybe I believe that I'm the best I shouldn't be trying to basically place my beliefs on others, but I should just enjoy who I am as a person. You see where I'm coming from? Instead of me basically thinking that, okay, my culture is the best, I'm the best at everything. Because at the end of the day, we all know that there's no one does the best. It's only God does the best. You see what I'm saying?
So,
So
but in reality, right? When we see it, especially last time in the chat,
yeah,
I get it. You know, you're talking about, shoots versus what is. Like, if that's what people should focus on,
yeah,
but they don't. They don't.
yeah,
Like people would they would say Black Americans don't have a culture,
yeah,
um, I guess they're using all their own African culture to
yeah.
try, to use that as the standard. But
I
Black
think
Americans do have a culture.
I think when you're I think we need to now define the word what culture really is, because as you're from Gambia, I'm from Ghana. Like your culture would be something like obviously something that you guys would do ritualistic. Something that you guys would do as in if there's a certain festival, the way you dress up in a very, I should say,
Yeah, forms of art and
the
all.
traditional way. Exactly. So when you're talking about Black Americans, to me, they don't have that kind of culture we have. The reason why I say that is because Black Americans don't have that. Like, all right, let me put it this way. You see, if you take a people from a place and then you displace them in another place, they basically throughout time, right? They'll lose their essence, because obviously they started off from a place where they had all the package of who they were. But if you displace a people and then you put them in a certain place, right? It's like people would say that Black American I say culture would be like maybe baseball and all this other stuff, but those things is not culture. Those things are
No,
just things that you do. You see what I'm saying?
but
And hats and the dressing and the music is it's just that's just part of life. Everyone makes
no,
music.
but
There's African
yeah,
music.
but
Yeah,
that's part of the art. But what you're saying, okay, even if a people are taken, right, they are
yeah,
not going to completely lose, you know, who they are completely. They're not going to lose it. And when you talk to Black people in America, you get,
yeah,
you do get that understanding, but they do have their culture, their, tradition, this same tradition you're talking about. It is not like maybe an Ashanti one or like a Mandinka one or whatever, but
yeah,
it is their own.
yeah,
And
but
they do
yeah,
have
but
those.
yeah, but then I think it shouldn't be called culture, because culture, the way we think of culture as Africans, if someone in Europe or America tells me they have culture, it's amusing to me because I don't see it. Because the way it's like the Red Indians having culture. As soon as you see something that is depicted as Red Indian culture, you just know, okay, that's a Red Indian culture. If you see African people dancing around the fire, okay, that's African Yamin culture. If you go to maybe even like Asia, you see that's their culture. Black Americans are obviously descendants of the Black people. So obviously, because they've been displaced, to say that they have culture, that's why I'm asking this question. What what culture is there? Because I don't see it. I
Well,
mean,
let
is it
Okay,
me
about
answer
but
night?
that.
wait. You
You know what I mean?
described. Um, let's remember this. So you everything you've defined as culture, right?
Yeah.
It's an art form so far.
Yeah, but it's also
Okay,
ancient.
okay.
It's also
No,
ancient art
no.
form. It's something
Okay.
that derived from
Yeah.
a people that came from a place where it's rich in culture. Like it's rich in things that obviously you can trace back to your ancestors and say, you know what? I know my uncles were dressing in maybe some, I don't know, some leaf. They had leaf covering their
So
private parts and all
okay.
that other stuff, but they don't have that. So I
Okay.
mean, because
Wait.
oh, sorry,
But
go on.
so that would mean now
Yeah,
we've established we're talking about art form and dress, right?
yeah.
Okay. Like music go.
Okay. So look, I don't want to turn this into what it was the other night, DMF. So let's just leave that in 2021. Do you agree, or you still want to fight?
Nah, it's like, to be getting personal without me getting personal, because I don't know you, so I wouldn't. You see the thing with me, right? I wouldn't come on here to have an argument for no reason. That's not really what I do. But
All
you
right,
see,
cool.
like if I'm
So
talking
we're on
and
the
then
same
obviously you
page.
say
So
something
let me
and
answer
then
your
obviously,
question.
yeah,
guys,
go on.
guys.
Sorry. Yeah, go
No,
on.
all
Sorry,
right.
go on.
So we cool. So now you said that African, Black Americans have, they dance and they have music as if everyone has that. But then when you went to Africa, you mentioned Africans dancing around fire as culture. You can't have it two ways. We already
Mhm.
established what culture is. Culture is a set of societal norms and traditions based on the people. Now, Black Americans are a new group. So our culture is new. So when you say you take someone away from Africa and then you displace them,
Yeah,
after they've been there, they're going to do what? Create a new culture based on their surroundings. Okay. So you can't use not antiquated, old African culture that's not even practiced by every African on the
Mhm.
continent and apply it to Black Americans. Okay. So if we look at the components of culture, you have language, you have food, you have tradition, you have music, and you have dance. I don't have to break down what Black Americans do as far as dancing and music and stuff like that. But when we talk about traditions, right? You heard about the cookout. That is a Black American thing.
So
Jumping the
let's.
broom. Hold on, hold
can
on,
I
So
hold
can
on,
hold
hold
on,
on,
hold
hold
on,
on.
can I say
Nagmizi,
something? I mean,
hold on,
Wait,
hold
wait,
on,
don't say
hold on,
nothing
hold
until I'm
on,
done.
hold
Don't
on,
say nothing
Nagmizi.
until I'm done. Don't
No,
okay,
ask a
sorry.
Black
Nagmizi.
American about his culture
Yeah,
and then cut him off as he's explaining.
hold on,
I
Nagmizi.
would say
I
I
just
would say
wanted to
when it
Okay,
add
comes
but
to
this.
African culture,
something, and I'm
well,
trying to
wait until I'm
I'm trying to
done.
clarify what
Wait
you're
DMF,
until
saying.
I'm done.
DMF, hold
Wait
on.
Wait
until you're
until I'm
done.
done.
Nagmizi, are
Be an
you
Okay.
seeing
African,
this?
right? And be
Are you seeing
Yeah.
respectful.
this? Are you seeing this,
Being
Nagmizi, on the screen?
I can't, but I'm on a cell phone. Could you read it for me,
Oh,
Afrodami?
oh, okay, okay. That's what I was trying to show you. But anyways, I was showing you the definition so that DMF also, so we all are on the same page. The customary beliefs, social norms, and material traits of a racial, religious, or social group. So they do have a culture. But continue,
All
Nagmizi.
right. So
According to
when
the
we talk about
definition.
like right. So that right there just knocks it out the box. Any person that would say another person or another group doesn't have culture either is basing that statement on a superiority from their culture and trying to discount someone else's. We're not saying whose culture is better. There's good in everyone's culture. I think mine is the best. You can think yours is the best. You do you, I do me. But like I said, there was jumping the broom in Black American weddings. We have the cookout. We have AAVE in terms of our own language system. We have our own martial arts systems in 52 blocks, knocking and kicking. We have a whole bunch of stuff that we have that is exclusive to Black Americans, but it has been embraced by the world, by the population of the world as a whole.
So DMF,
yes, yeah, go on.
you
Yeah,
heard what Nagmizi he explained their
yeah,
culture, right? What
yeah,
would you, because Africans, they would do it as a collective. Like, for example, I'm from Gambia, I have my own culture, right?
yes.
But
Hmm.
I have always maintained the understand to, like, I've always seen that blacks have their own culture and I
Yeah,
have my own culture. Like, I've always known that. But I
yeah,
see other Africans who put a lot of emphasis on this. So, for instance, you're from Ghana,
yes.
right?
I was
So,
born
like,
there as well.
yeah, and like your culture, right? The
Yeah,
culture you have is completely different from mine. Like, the
yeah,
importance it has to you is different than me, vice versa.
yeah.
Okay, so now, what would you like? You explain that blacks don't have a culture, but now what Nakmizi explained and the definition, and even your own explanation fits that. Like,
Yeah.
where was the disconnect? I want, like, how did you
No,
come up with the idea?
it's not so much idea. It's more like I'm going on the basis of what what culture is, in terms of, like, you see, culture is not something or for example, they were taken from Africa. When they were taken from Africa, obviously they would have taken, if they were Africans, which they were when they were taken from Africa, you would still practice those things. You know what I mean?
yes,
You'll still
but
practice where the original place where you came from. It's like, for example, I saw someone in the comment section writing reparations. Right now, the problem I have with that, I'm not getting off topic, I'm going to come back to that, but the problem I have with that reparations thing is that those people that were taking that struggle, that were in shackles, right? Those people are the people that should have maybe got those the reparations, but you cannot be giving it to people that, I mean, this is way down the line. We're in 2022 now, you know what I mean? So it's like I don't
I
get
need this.
certain things.
Afrodominic, let me get this, please.
okay, go
Please.
for it. Go
You know,
for
The
I
it.
just don't
guy,
get it. It should be
GMF,
Africa that should
our
get it.
dear brother. Wait, hold on. Our dear brother just went from trying to establish that we didn't have a culture, or clarifying his version of culture, and then he pivoted to reparations and how he feels we don't need reparations. Like you said, we're going to keep it on topic. This is where the unlearned people who want to challenge ADOS always get cooked when I get on the mic.
Please
we
bring
already
it, bring it.
established we already established what culture was, and I gave you specific things that our culture is. When our people die, we release balloons, we have parties, we eat after. There's going to be similarities between Black American culture and West African culture, because we didn't lose everything. A lot of this stuff had to be practiced in secret. Okay. Now, if you look at Black American culture and Caribbean culture, there's going to be a difference. You know why? One of the main reasons, because where we got sent to, there were winters. Where they got sent to, it was hot. It was a similar climate. So there's maybe similar foods. It's different. So even Black American culture in Black America will be different in the North, as it would be in the South, as it would be in the Midwest, because your surroundings, your social status is going to affect your culture. But to say that we don't have a culture is ludicrous. And I don't think you're a guy that's gonna, try to defend nonsense, but I think you're looking at this from an Afrocentric point of view for people that are African descent, not Africans. I give the mic back.
All right. Now we have Cosmo here. Cosmo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cosmo, where are you calling from?
So I'm calling from the United States.
What?
Just a Black American in the
Okay.
South.
All right. So Cosmo, so have you ever encountered where, like, you're dealing with like a foreign Black, let's say African, somebody from Africa, saying Black Americans don't have a culture? Have you heard this
Uh,
before?
yeah, I've heard it, but I would say I've heard it more so from like people who are Jamaican than African. But I've heard it, yeah.
So
And but
when have you ever like thought about it in the form that we're talking about it here today? As far like, have you put any thought to it? Like, what is this person talking about?
so like the people that I've talked to about it, normally they try to attach things that I wouldn't say are culture, like wanting to get educational attainment. They would say like that's culture, and say like, well, they have a culture. We have a culture that strives more for educational attainment. But like, I study economics, so when you look at the economics of it, statistically, it doesn't even make sense to say that. But yeah, so like just things that aren't actually culture being prescribed as culture. That's normally what I see.
Okay, okay, thank you. Man, fix your audio. Something is going on, but I'll put you in the back in a second here. Let's have Ojini. Ojini, welcome to the show. Where you calling from?
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yep. Calling from Dublin, Ireland. Thanks
Ireland.
for having me on.
All right. So, Ojini, are you Black, or are you Irish?
Nigerian.
Nigerian. All right.
Yeah.
So perfect. So I'm glad we have a Nigerian on the line. So I did mention, because generally, even what I would observe, it would be mostly like Nigerian or Ghanaian who put a lot of emphasis in the culture to say to Black American they don't have a culture. When they say they don't have a culture, what do they mean by that?
I mean, look, that was originally the original point that made me call anyway. But I think
Well, you can talk on the original point too, but I'm just.
no, I said that was so.
Oh, that was okay.
Good
Okay.
question there.
Okay.
But look, I don't think it's a thing of hate or a thing of undermining. I think it's just a thing of, more especially from a Black perspective, it's a thing of ignorance, right, towards other groups of Black people.
Right.
Because you see the culture, what's the Black American culture today is so vastly popular, and it's rooted around a group of people that Africans
Right.
believe are cultureless, and a lot of people outside of the continent would believe they are cultureless as well. And that's the English. Understand what I'm saying? Now, people can make their arguments about English culture or whatsoever. I really couldn't care. English is just a generally acceptable word all across the face of the planet that there is just nothing to it anymore. You see what DMF was saying there about dancing around fires, leaves around your
Yeah.
bollocks and all, round beads and stuff. It's like those things are a little bit more mysterious.
Yeah. In my
You know
part
what I
of
mean?
Africa, they don't do that there. I mean, I know that other parts do, but it's not synonymous.
Yeah. I think it's more from a West African perspective. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Well, some
because
of
like
the
you said,
cultures
it's more
do. I
Ghanaians
would
and
agree
Nigerians
with
that will
him.
bring these things up. So it's more West African oriented, this argument. But the thing is, people see it from that perspective. So when
Hold on,
when
Ojini.
the greatest part of your culture, which is hip hop, and it's another music, is made in English, is rooted in English. Because remember, language is always pivotal to culture, and how your culture is perceived. You have to
Okay,
understand
Ojini.
that although it makes your culture a little bit more popular, and even way more popular than many African cultures, it will undermine the the genuity of the culture. And that's what you're seeing today. You have the most popular culture, absolutely, but then there's always pros and cons to everything. You get what I'm saying? So
Okay,
it's more
Ojini.
of ignorance.
Ojini, let me ask you this.
Yeah,
So, I mean, did you grow up in Nigeria?
absolutely. 17 years
Okay,
deep. Yeah,
okay. So Ojini, you know how like you have do you have relatives in the village, right?
yeah.
Okay, so you know how you would have some of the aunties or grandmas, they come from the village and they
Mm,
see how doing things in the city, and they say you don't know the culture, you're not doing the culture right. Do you think
yeah.
Africans also they embedded this where they look at Black Americans as, since they're from ancestors are from West Africa,
Mm.
but they expect them to act like West African, and when they don't see that, they're like, oh, they lost the culture.
Yeah, I think that's more on a macro perspective. Like you said, let's say the aunties and uncles come out from the village, right? They come to the city. You have to understand that the city are more of a cultural melting pot. It's mixed with various African cultures. So, like where I'm from, we'll speak English just so we can get along ourselves, because there are so many tribal groups there. You understand what I'm saying? So, like it washes itself down. The more exposed you get, it washes itself down. Now Africans coming to the West and saying black folks that are indigenous to the West have no culture. It's just the same, literally the same thing, but it's happening on a macro scale. So I think it's that thing that's embedded into us and all. Like, but I don't necessarily think Black Americans have no culture. I just think if I just think they're going through the disadvantages of having a popular and a global scalable culture. You know what I mean? And just to say this,
Yeah.
right? Demo before the next person goes, I know someone else just came into the panel.
Yeah.
Flipping, most times when you see this group of African people saying these things, actually, like, don't even mind them, because like you stated earlier on to say, Africans always think their culture is superior.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to remember that it's minute tribal culture that they see as superior. You see what they do, what most Africans will do to the Black Americans, they do it between themselves on the continent anyway.
Yeah, I did
They like
mention that.
they like to impose their culture on you, which is not from their place. So I can't even take people like that serious, because when they say you don't have a culture, then they try to teach you their tribal culture and not necessarily any other African culture. And if you were learning any other African culture, they wouldn't necessarily want to have anything to do with you in that regard. So it's like it's all a load of fucking joke, man.
Yeah, because if you look at across America, like the black Americans universally, their culture is the same. But we have African Fang. African Fang, welcome to the show.
Yeah. The last time we've been together, do
Happy
you
New Year,
remember?
African Fang.
Yes. Hello. Do you remember
Hello.
the last time we've been together in one live stream from that stupid one?
The what?
The
African
last time
Fang.
we went together in one live stream. Do you
Uh,
remember? You had to tell people how we were last time.
okay. African Fang. When Africans say to Black Americans that they don't have a culture, what do they mean by that? That's the topic. Can you stick to that?
I can stick to that, but you also miss always the things that's supposed to be. So hold on a second. I'm losing. Hold on a second because I'm taking the venom here. Hold on a second.
The,
Hold on a
okay,
second.
we'll put you in the
No,
back. All right. Like music. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good.
I was just airing out the chat. It smelled like fish for a second, but go on.
Okay. So we have H Block here. H Block, thank you for calling in.
I thank you for having me in, bro.
All right. So H Block, have you
Yeah,
heard the
what's up?
phrase when Africans say to Black Americans that they don't have a culture? Have you ever heard that?
Yes, absolutely, and I think that's dumb, because what is culture? Like, if we look at what the definition of culture is, Black people in America have their own culture, and the thing is, though, those Africans who tell Black people you don't have a culture is the same ones that be rocking Black American culture when it comes to the U.S. I've seen a
Right.
lot of Africans, that dress like Black Americans, try to talk like Black Americans, and
Mm-hmm.
and listen to Black American music, but at the same time telling Black Americans they don't have a culture. So I disagree with that, and this is coming from an African person.
Nak, what do you say to that?
I agree wholeheartedly. I told y'all a story about being in Asia and Africans acting like they were Black Americans. Um, so yeah, it is what it is, man. So those that will try to argue the point that we don't have culture when I already explained it, you explained it before I even came on, is pretty dumb. I just think that they try to use that, from an African perspective to try to make us less than. But you can't make us less than when, on average, Black people worldwide either not mimic, but in a negative way, we could call it mimicking. In a positive way, we could say that, they appreciate popular Black culture and they ingratiate themselves in it. So you can't ingratiate
Absolutely.
yourselves in it and then try to disrespect the owners or creators of that culture.
Okay, I want to say one more thing. One thing that as an African, I'm Somali. Mikmizi, this how we by the way. You know what I'm saying? Happy New
Hey, what's up,
Year's.
Hawiya? Happy New Year, Hawiya.
I know we had a heated argument the other day, but no hard feelings. But
Nah, bro, you good, you good, you good.
but like what I was trying to say is, I think me personally, I like Black culture better because they don't have limitations. Like, when Black people talk about
Mhm.
how you know the kings of Egypt, the Moors, and when they talking about Black people in general. So
You know
people
what?
attack them. They like,
How we
yeah,
got in front of me. I was gonna get to that eventually, but you opened
oh,
it
okay,
up. You opened it because I was gonna do the comparison here, and
right.
but go for it.
Yeah, so like, Black people, when they tell like they're kings, they rule in Egypt. like they don't mean them as Black Americans. They mean like as Black people. So Africans always attack them for that. And what Africans, they have tribal mentality, right? Like you're not gonna see an African person from Ghana embracing another Black culture, like saying like Egyptian Blacks or like the Nubians or stuff like that. So that's one thing I love about Black culture, like the way they're proud of their Blackness. And we Africans don't have that. We still have a tribal mentality.
Okay. We have, man, well said there. We have African Fang. African Fang, you're back on again. Can you answer the question I asked you again, unless you want me to repeat it to you?
Please repeat that to me because I was not listening.
So, African Fang, the question is, Africans like to say Black Americans don't have a culture. So when they say Black Americans don't have a culture, what do they mean by that?
So they mean that they don't have any structure, because you can see that. Obviously, I don't have to lie. I've been in USA. I've been there for 3 months. I see that the police officer don't go after them. Yes. One thing. So, culture. What is an African American culture first? What is an African American culture?
So,
African.
Fang, wait, Fang. So,
So
you only
excuse
visit,
me.
you only
Let
stayed
me
for
finish
3
because me,
months?
I'm quick. I'm not people that try to talk too much. Yeah.
No, wait. You only stayed for 3 months?
Yeah, 3 months,
Okay.
enough time
Okay.
to see
Okay.
in New York,
All right, continue.
one of the best areas to have problems. Yeah. Or Baltimore. I'm going to go to Baltimore when I'm going to be there this year. Yeah. So look at this. If they have a culture, what is an African American culture? So then we have to go back. What is an African American first?
But okay, wait, Fang, what culture are you comparing Black Americans to?
What is an African American first? So that is what you have to understand first.
They are Black
What is
people.
an African American?
No, they are Black people in
No,
America.
what is an African American, please?
Fang,
No,
we've already
what is an
answered that.
African American, please? An African American is by its own self or comes from another culture.
Fang, what do you mean?
What is an African American first?
African American is somebody like me from Africa.
Like you? Okay.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
say,
Hold
but
on,
the
hold
person,
on, hold on, hold on.
the
hold
person
on.
that is talking, that trying
Fang.
to be a king of ADOS,
Fang,
but I
that's
didn't laugh at him.
because Fang, if you're
He trying to
referring to,
see, look at this.
hold on,
I'm
Fang.
B. That's why, Afidamus, you know me, I'm not joking.
Fang.
What is an African American first?
Okay, are you going to
African
answer the
American
question?
cannot be with an African.
Redeemers.
Okay.
You're not.
This is crazy. Fang doesn't want to talk about the topic here. Let's get back on with what we're saying. Okay, so hold on. We are okay, hold on. So if you look at African, like when Africans say Black Americans don't have a culture, we've established they do have a culture. And H Block, how we are raised something here, which I was going to talk about, which is African cultures. When they say culture, is tribal based, is small. It doesn't have like impact on other people who are not part of that culture. But Blacks have a culture that is endless, like the guy said. And also, when I said I'm African American, it doesn't mean Black American, meaning I'm from Africa and I became an American citizen. Nakmizi is a Black American. Nakmizi, would you agree with my definition of it?
I agree with I'm a Black American, and I don't use African American for the same reason why you claim that you're an African American. There's
Right.
too much wiggle room in there.
Exactly.
But let's be clear. African American, that term was for the descendants, excuse me, of American chattel slavery. So I don't agree that you're an African American. I agree that you're a Gambian American or an
Okay.
African in America.
Hold on. Let me explain like music. Okay, for instance, right? If you look at it, you raised the point here where you said the wiggle room, you know,
Right.
it's really slim. So the description. So if I say I'm African American, like meaning an African from Africa who became American, and then the distinction there saying you are Black American, then there is no confusion, as to where Black Americans would be diluted. You see, do you get
Right.
my
I got
point?
you. I got you. That's why I don't use the term because of this conversation right here. That's why I don't use it. Someone's got
Oh, hold on,
an
Cosmo.
African
Cosmo,
internet connection
is
going
that
on.
is that Cosmo? Cosmo, is that you? Cosmo, unmute yourself. Okay, that was Cosmo, I'm guessing. Okay, DMF, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I've been
Okay,
listening.
so DMF.
Yeah.
So now, we've established that Black Americans have a culture. It's just
With all,
different.
can I say something? With all due respect, right?
Mhm.
Whatever you believe and NAC believes that you guys have established, that's for you to believe that. That's fine. I'm not gonna impose on your beliefs. Just like I wouldn't expect
No,
you
no,
to impose on my beliefs. You see what I'm saying?
no.
So if you believe anyone's
Do you
got a
agree?
culture, that's for them.
Wait,
That's
do
not
you,
for me.
do you agree with with the dictionary's definition of culture?
You see, one thing about all this, me going by what is written by someone that is not of the same descendant as me,
No.
is that
DMF. But
no, before you
wait,
respect, can
wait,
I
wait, wait,
please
wait.
talk? Yeah, can I
DMF.
talk?
You see what you're doing here? Okay,
What am I doing?
so you're using your own standard, and that is not the standard that we
No.
go by.
I'm not using my own. I'm using common sense. That's what I'm
Well,
doing. Because if I now wait 1 minute, if I sit there and I just all I do is just soak up what someone else has written or go with what someone else has done, I wouldn't have my own mind. That's why we all have
yeah, well,
our own
we're
brains.
reading it,
See what I'm
but
saying?
I mean, we're reading it and making sense out of it. It's not just we're reading it and don't understand the meaning of what we're reading. There's comprehension and it matches reality because
No, but see,
African,
but wait,
for
but
example,
it
okay,
depends
like
on whose reality you're talking about. It's not my
okay,
reality; it's your reality. Your reality. The person that's written this is to serve their agenda. It's not my agenda. You see what I'm saying? So
so
I
okay,
don't conform to anything. I do what
okay,
I'm doing. That's how I
what
live
would
my life.
what would be your definition?
I mean, as I said, I'm not here to pass judgment because I'm not God. You see what I'm saying? But as I said before, I mean, we all have our
No,
own
I mean,
minds. You know what I mean? And
I get it.
to think how we
I
want to
get.
think. And like
Hold on.
I'm not gonna say something that someone's gonna take in a wrong way and say, oh, you know what I mean? Anyone that thinks that Black Americans don't have a culture, they're dumb and all these loose statements that people make. I'm not gonna fall to trap in terms of those kind of, I should say, small-mindedness ways of thinking. I'm not that kind of person. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna leave that to those who want to believe whatever they want to believe, to get on with it, because I have my own beliefs in how I believe things should be done. It's like, for example, I grew up in a Christian family, you see what I'm saying? But now I don't believe in those things because I know now that those things are dumb. I will not be thinking about those things. I don't live my life, because when you get to saying that, you have your own mind to think for yourself, to sieve out the truth and to learn
Yeah.
about what is really true, not lies. You know?
Okay. All right. Thanks, DMF.
No
Hey,
doubt.
real quick for DMF. He said that he respectfully grew up in a Christian culture. Couldn't someone say then that if your parents or your family was practicing European Christianity in Africa, that they weren't practicing their own culture?
It wasn't. It wasn't in Africa. It was in the UK because I came here when I was very young. When I was my grandmother
Well,
was a
were you
queen
with
mother.
Africans?
So,
Were you with
pardon?
Africans? Were you with Africans when you came? Ghanaians?
Was that with Ghanaians when I came where?
So
To the
DMF,
UK.
are you
No, no,
saying
no.
you were not?
I was with British people. It was English people. I went to a Catholic church. So it was obviously white people that were in this church. It
Why
wasn't
didn't you? Why
Africans
didn't you go to a traditional African religious
because
system place of
because
worship?
because because I was too young to make those decisions for myself. I was
So the
So
a
people that
kid.
made those were Africans, right? Your parents made those decisions for you.
Yeah, my mom made those decisions. Yeah, I was young
So now,
to
does
make
your
my own
mom have no
decisions.
culture? Of course, your mom has culture.
Of course, everyone's got culture.
Exactly. That's my point.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
because your mom practiced Christianity at one point doesn't mean that she doesn't have culture.
But you see, as I got older, I started to tell her that I don't
Mhm.
follow. As I got to maybe, I say 15, I start to learn a lot of things, and I thought to myself, you know what? I don't believe in stuff like that. That's why I now follow Vedism. You see where I'm coming from? I don't follow the way people practice things. You know, I don't like there's a lot that people don't know about me. So I'm saying, so you know, I don't follow the norm what people go with. I've got my own way of doing. That's why I said that I'm not going to come and impose in terms of obviously saying that Black Americans ain't got no culture. I'm not going to go there because at the end of the day, even if I say that, just like you got your own opinion, I've got my own opinion.
but
So
DMF, but
it doesn't
DMF,
really go anywhere, does it?
but
You know what I mean?
DMF.
It's like,
That's what the discussion is like.
yeah,
I mean, if like that's what the discussion is like. I want people to participate in it,
yeah, we are, but that's what I'm
but
trying to say.
thanks. I like your perspective as well.
No
Everyone's.
doubt.
So like Mizi, what how we are said. What do you think about that? As far as Black culture being open, and me myself, I noticed that like it's endless, where it changes constantly. Do you think that the culture being that way, it confuses African culture that has like a rigid fence around it?
I was going to talk about that properly.
Someone cut you off in the middle of your sentence, Aphrodamus.
Oh yeah. So African culture having this rigidity about it because people really
Hmm.
I don't think they because if you see mostly when they show videos, pictures, people meeting Africans, people are laughing with each other. It's almost, have you noticed that? It's like a laughing thing where either the African is being in the victimhood position or they have to be pretend to be nice. So nobody really gets like the reality.
Right.
You see. So so with that rigidity, if somebody's cultured in that, not wanting to be flexible, they come across a culture where the people look like them, but they are way more flexible and it's open to changes. Do you think that creates that confusion?
I think the confusion starts with even how we're framing this. African culture. There is no African culture. There are
Right.
multiple African cultures. So when we say, see, when we speak about Black American culture, we're getting very specific. But then when we on the African side, we want to get continental. So if I
Hmm.
were to ask a Susu, and I met a Susu the other day, if they practice FGM on their women, he'll probably tell me no. You understand what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So every tribe doesn't follow the same traditions, and it is based in a lot of it is
You
based in
know,
rigidity and in antiquity. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that it's rigid. But then you just have to say, if culture is so important, what has pure African culture done for the continent of Africa to push it in the right direction? Or was it European colonization that's gotten the continent of Africa to even where it is now?
I have said this before, right? And people would get mad at me. I said that the Africans kicked it with the Arabs for 500 years, which is the trans-Saharan slave trade, and they never came up. They kicked it with the Europeans for 500 and we came up. So people can agree to disagree, but that's what the truth is. But you brought out something which is true to show the difference there. In America, like you say, to you explain FGM to a Black American woman or Black American person, it will sound savage to them. But
Well,
to
can I say
Let me,
something real quick
bro, let
about?
me say something right for a few for a minute or so,
who's
right?
that? Ojini?
Yeah,
Yeah, go
I
for it,
think
Ojini.
yeah, I think Nakamizi made an astute point there where he said Africans come from a vast amount of variety of cultures anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but for some reason, when they go over to the west and they see the Western blacks, they just cannot use that same mentality
Accept
and
that.
understanding that maybe these people are just a different group of Africans
Mm-hmm.
by lineage, although by culture and nationalistic boundaries, they wouldn't be African. So, but what I was going to say is this, right? So, of course, Africans should be able to understand that a little bit more. That look, they're just black people that are different from us. Because even in your countries, you got your various tribes. You understand that these are the same, but culturally you're different. And when I
Right.
say culturally you're different, we are actually very different on the continent. But what I was going to say is this, right? I think, like Wiz made a point earlier on, and you just asked him a question that hinted towards that as well. I think the uniform longevity of culture is what make the continentals feel like they are better than the Western blacks, because, like he
But
said something
how?
about the ADOS culture, right? If you look at ADOS culture, it's always tend to reinvent its own wheels.
Itself. Mm-hmm.
So it's I don't think it's ever a culture that can stand the test of time. It changes patterns based on realistic trends. The continental cultures doesn't do that. I bet you when like
The
Mizzy mentioned
various
something about
the various
kickboxing,
tribes.
yeah, the various ethnic groups, of
Yeah.
course. You mentioned something about 50 blocks or whatever that is. I bet you, right? Regardless of how popular we think ADOS culture is, people all across the face of this planet know what a goosey soup is way more than they're more familiar with that than they're familiar with 50 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you get to learn about the continental cultures, it's the standard was set and the practices were set very like literally hundreds and thousands of years ago, and it's not changed up until today. But I think that's one of the greatest challenges that the ADOS culture is facing, is that
What?
it's kind of fragile. I wouldn't necessarily say it's open to change. Culture should not just be changing every 100 years or so. Like the old ADOS people of 200 years ago are
But
way different
who's
from
making
today.
that decision though?
Sorry?
Like as far as when it should change or not? Because if you look at it, right? For
Mm,
instance, in even in Africa, the people in the villages and the cities,
yeah.
um, there's a difference. You know, people many they would say, "Oh, you're not practicing the culture." You see,
Yeah, but
so
the difference is that you have to remember even the cultural influence in those cities will be way will be stronger than it will be in the West, because you must remember they are still on the continent. That city you're talking about there is an ancestral ground as well. So let's take Lagos for example. No matter how diverse it is, it's also an ancestral land and it's ethnic. It's like it's indigenous to a certain ethnicity. So that influence will always be there. So let's say the people from the same tribe that come from the village up to the city, the influence will still be there in that city. So it's quite different.
but Ojini, you know, like I was talking about 2 shows ago where people were getting in fights, you know, Black Americans and Africans, and they were using they were saying, "Oh, bragging, saying we sold you," and also because there's a story in America where Black Americans would say to Black Africans and say, "You sold us," but they would say, "No, I didn't sell you. What country?" But then in the chat, people that even generally they are not from the same region as where Black Americans' ancestors came from, are taking that claim. Why do you think they are doing that? What is the psychology behind it?
They are taking what claim? Claim to what?
Talking about we sold you, so therefore we are more important than you. And to me, like that's like
I think,
it's a new phenomenon.
I
But
think that's
I'm
just bare
saying,
stupidity. No one should brag about that to start off with anyway. But then you must remember as well, is just like I said, the stupidity. People always try to make points in arguments just to convey their narrative. They're just trying to win an argument. Okay, so we
but
saw
but
you, so
but
we're
but
you.
but it's not
That's,
based in facts. Like it's not based in facts. Do you like that creates tensions? I mean, like
yeah,
music. When you see that, like how, like when you read that, how did you feel about it, or
When I
wanted to
read what?
react about when Africans say, "Oh, we sold you, therefore we are above you." Even though, like, when you hear people, especially from a region that have
Hmm.
nothing to do with where you know um your ancestors came from.
Yeah, I get that a lot from like people from Ghana. I'm like, yo, bro, Black Americans don't even come from Ghana. That's you got to go to Surinamese and Jamaicans, and a lot of people from the Caribbean. Black Americans don't really even come from that region. So that is just a dig to try to hurt our feelings. But if you really understand how that slave trade went, I could just say, no, you sold your own, everyone sold each other essentially. But there were some tribes that were more involved than others. So just to do a blanket statement is not accurate. There's a lot of nuance. And when people say stupid stuff like that, it tells you that they're unlearned. You could have been
Hmm.
catching somebody on Monday and got your ass caught on Wednesday. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So
Exactly.
that it doesn't really hold any weight. So instead of saying we sold y'all, they could be like, I could just say, well, y'all sold some of your own people too, because
Hmm.
what they did is they sold their undesirables, and when that schnapps was really hitting, they would probably say, "Yo, I don't like that dude right there. Yo, just sell his ass. I want another umbrella." Unfortunately, that has left Africa with a brain drain. So I would just say, look, if we're gonna have that sort of who's better type of shit, I would just say, I don't want to hear from you if you're not on the continent. I want you to talk that we're the superior African shit from Africa.
yeah, and that's what was the point I was making as well. It's a stupid argument that people make in today just to claim superiority to other people. But with that said, right, I'm just about to log off. My battery's dying here, so thanks a lot for
All
having
right.
me on.
All right. Thank you for coming. All
So
right. We have Hawia. Howie, are you
yeah,
still there? All
yeah,
right.
I'm still here, man. And I'm just gonna go back to what you said. People, some people I've seen that on chats, like online. Some people trying to brag, oh, you're a slave, or try to shame, people who are descendants of slaves. So, like, that's the dumbest thing someone can say. First of all, because
Howie, if you
yeah,
remember, sorry to cut you off, but
yes,
even in the conversation with the Somali conversation, even I've heard some of these Somalis would say, take pride
yeah,
in that. Oh no, we sold people. While you
yeah,
explaining this, can you touch on that? Because also I've heard about the Somali Bantu who also they hold this slave stigma over their head. Like people try to, like when they fight with Black American, they was, we sold you. But I'm like, how do you know? Just like Mizi explained, you don't know what you're
right.
talking about.
Right. That's dumb. Like, first of all, trying to shame someone because of what happened to their ancestors is a low blow. Is dumb. Like, it's unacceptable. And when people say it's very cringy, and I don't like it. But when we look at the history of slaves, like all humans enslaved, Egyptians enslaved, Jewish people is, everyone knows that. Even the Romans enslaved the Spaniards, right? So it's nothing that's unique to only African people. You know what I'm saying? So especially when an African person trying to shame someone, say, "Oh, you're a slave," or this, that's just dumb, and that just You know, it makes them look bad. Actually, you
But
know what I mean?
also, you know what's crazy though?
Yeah,
When, for example, when you have somebody like me bring the topic, even like when I speak of the like Africans selling Africans, they would people would get mad at me as if I'm revealing a secret that they don't
yeah,
know. But then when they fight with Black Americans, they take pride in it. So which one is it? It's confusing. When I bring it out, I'm the worst human being ever.
Great point. Great point.
Let's see here. Okay, so how we are, so you're confirmed, like you've witnessed that as well, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's everywhere. Like if you go to TikTok, if you go, people. So even the other day when we were doing your show, someone was bragging about how they were selling other Africans. Like, you know, that's not nothing to brag about. You're selling your own people. That's nothing to brag about. I think it was Dr. K who was saying that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
That was a strange conversation. But since I
yeah,
believe in the freedom of speech and expression, that's how
yeah,
people learn. You know,
yeah.
yeah, Dr. K, when he was saying that, like music, hearing that, what he was talking about, how did that sound?
Who, Dr. K?
Yeah, about they were selling people and
Okay, I know where you at. And I dispel this live. I generally don't like to speak about people when they're not here. So I'm gonna put it
right.
as respectful as I can. He mentioned, something about he wouldn't want to make a baby with the black American because of slave
Mhm.
ancestry, but he admitted that his father's tribe was enslaved. So I'm like, you're literally KDOS, Kenyan descendants of slavery. So he tries to
KDO.
play this, two-sided thing, but the fact of the matter is that humans enslaved each other all
Right.
over the world. Africa does not
It's
have
still
a
happening.
monopoly on slavery.
Hmm. It's still ongoing. In fact, I'm going to talk about the Heritines in another show who are still
Yeah.
enslaved, and what I have observed how, like, you know their slave enslavement works, because I notice people like to use like the color black synonymous with slavery, but then I come from a part where I know it's other black people also own other blacks. So I never saw that slavery was synonymous with black skin, until I came to the West. To be quite honest,
Exactly.
yeah. And like music, like when I'm talking about, because like some black people even in America, right, they would get upset, for instance, when I speak of the real history and the African participation. Why do they, for instance, get mad at individuals like me for talking about the African part of the slavery?
Well, I used to get that too, or pushback. And the reason is you'll get more pushback from Pan Africans who look at the continent with rose colored glasses. They just want to say the white man did this, the white man did that, white man, white man, white man, when they don't want to accept the fact that the white men had partners in it, bro. It's obvious. The Africans will tell you it's in the history books, it's in the white man's records, it's passed down through through stories verbally. In Ghana, they actually, commemorate their lost family members that were sold off into the slave trade. So everyone knows, but it's just the Pan Africans that get upset when they just don't want to accept the fact that Africans sold other Africans, and that's the most accurate way you can put it. Because when you say
But they
Africans
but
sold
they
each other,
brag about it. They brag about it when they get mad, even though
well, exactly, they're
people in the
duplicitous.
next sentence they would
That's why
admit
we
that
sold you for
there are
a
others.
umbrella. Ha 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 ha.
I'm better, because I noticed that also in the Somali conversation we had. 1 minute, the staunch ones, they would say, no, we never enslaved anybody, but another minute you would hear them gloat, you know. So I'm like, what is going on? What world are we living in? Is this 1865 like all over again?
What they do, it's that word will have power if you give it power. So if someone says, oh, you're a slave, and then you have a breakdown like, oh, right, they're gonna keep hitting you in that same spot.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is like this, that shit don't bother me. History is history. But then I say, what have we become since then? My ethnic group has risen from the ashes, not to sound cliche, and we're doing our thing. We have a long way to go, and I'm not going to rest on our past successes, but there is greatness in my ethnic group, especially when you consider the fact that we were shipped to a cold ass place on boats in chains. Like we're literally like a miracle, almost miracle people.
This is true. And how we are like, do, like, for example, I've heard of the Somali Bantus. Do they experience the same type of rhetoric as you were talking about here? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I mean, Somali Bantus are the most marginalized people in Somalia. And these people, first of all, like the narrative of all of them were slaves is false. It's 100% false. A lot of them, I would say 90% of them were not slaves. They're not slave descendants. Most of them, they were there through the Bantu expansion. If you don't know that, you can look it up. The Bantu peoples, Bantu groups. So a lot of them were already in Somalia, and before the colonial, before the Arab slave.
Yeah.
So, but the notion that some Somalis telling them, "Oh, you guys are all slaves," is just false. It's not true, and some people just do that, to put them down, and it's not right. But like you said, they're the most marginalized group in Somalia, and they have a history that kind of similar to Afro Americans, because the Jim Crow South and segregation and all that stuff. So they went through the same stuff. They were not given the same opportunities as the
Like
Somali ethnic.
inside Somalia.
Inside Somalia, yeah, they were not part of the government. People that making the laws and all, they were kept out of all of that and all the opportunities. And these people are pretty much Somali than everybody else. They've been there for thousands of years. They speak Somali. Their culture is Somali. They're a Muslim. Everything they do is just Somali. They listen to Somali music. So they're, like I said, yeah, they're the most marginalized group in Somalia, and I think that should be a good topic. Another video for it.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that, because this here is another, because people seem to be so clueless about one another, to a
Right.
point where they try to use someone's history,
Right.
against them, like it's supposed to be a bad thing. But you cannot compare, you know, Black American culture to tribal culture. It's not even the same.
Well, I mean, what? First of all, we got to define what culture is, right?
Well, the
Culture
Webster's
is
dictionary already said it. Yeah.
right. So it's just arts. Music is part of culture. It's collectively created by a group of people, and the black people do have a culture. They have their own culture. That's separate from American culture, but they're also contributed to the American culture. Like if we talk about all the great music in America and even the world, it was created by black people, like jazz, rock and roll, and all that stuff. So when people say black people don't have a culture, they just don't know what they're talking about.
Well
Thank you.
said. Well said. We have alternative NGO. Alternative NGO. Can you hear me? Alternative NGO, can you hear me? Looks like we lost Alternative NGO. We have Cosmo. Cosmo, can you hear me?
Hear you.
All right. So Cosmo, you've heard, all what the speakers have said as far as the culture and the people that like to say, okay, use the slave history of Black Americans ancestors, as something to insult them with. Um, how do you see that? Because I don't like to say how do you feel, because feelings are not real. We have to deal with things in real time.
Yeah.
So how,
So
from the things you've heard, can you address those?
yeah, so when people talk about like when they want to make a claim about slavery or anything like that, the first thing that kind of comes to my mind is like their credibility is shot at that point as an individual. So I can't really believe that they're coming at things that with like faith, good intentions. So I just kind of disregard what they have to say. But then I also keep it in the back of my mind, knowing like, hey, there are people out here who are like this. So
Like, I mean, like knowing that they have this thought process just by itself. That's what I'm trying to address. I'm not
yeah,
like
so the
pointing
thought
fingers.
process I think is very dangerous because essentially you'll say whatever you can to get your point across, and then there's no real discussion, there's no real dialogue, there's no real moving forward because we're constantly debating points that have already been debunked. So it's basically divisive. I don't think I could really uh say I would understand the person's intentions behind it, but I would say that they're disingenuous. And in terms of that type of behavior, you just kind of have to ignore it because if you just let it foster, it becomes propaganda.
Well, to me, technically, so you're saying, because if you look at it, when people make this argument, therefore, because in various parts of Africa, there's still slavery. Like literally, people own people. I know this is gonna sound weird to most, but it's real. So that would mean deep down, subconsciously, the people are definitely okay with slavery, for them to, comfortably, speak of it. So, like, when I talk about it, I know many try to use emotions in terms of saying we divided or not divided. No, this is just the facts, like what I'm seeing, and presenting it, without attaching any feelings to it. I know people would get defensive, but it's the truth, because as you guys see, even here, for us to even agree on what culture is, even looking at the definition, there's still differences in what people try to agree on what the real culture is. So as long as we pretend not to hear these conversations, or people go sit on their platforms, making silly comments like Mr. Uganda did that, talking bad about, he thinks he's taking shots at me, um, based in when I'm talking about race. They want to talk about these topics, but they don't know what they're talking about. If you don't live in America, you don't interact with Americans in real life. So when you say certain things or try to attack people that are talking about real facts, that creates a problem. And so, like me, when I talked about the Somali topic, you came in, you talked
Hmm.
about it. Now they're translating that as quote unquote, not the Somali people. Mr. Uganda, he wants to be the Bantu to go to step up. He thinks it's war. Like me
Right.
presenting the conversation, did you get any war vibe from it or educational vibe?
I always get educational vibes, but this is education in the best way Black people can get it in the form of edutainment, right?
Thank
So
you.
we're going to have fun. We're going to joke. There was an East African tribal war in there as well. I just find it funny that, a black Ugandan would come to the aid of someone who will brag about selling people of his stock.
Yeah, did you
It's like
remember
caping. Yeah.
how many Black American stories have I done, or Nigerian stories, or other African stories? He had no issue with it, but
Many, many.
this
But
one rubbed
they
him
won't
wrong.
say anything when you talk about the Nigerians or the Black Americans. But when you
Right.
talk about them, curly or Somalis with the good hair, then they want to get all up in arms. They want to ignore people when they call other people Jareers and call for genocide and actually say that something physically bad is going to happen to me. Well, it ain't happened yet. I'm not saying it can't happen, but whoever comes better come correct. But they ignore that, and then they want to throw a shot in the other direction. But this is, I think, maturity has something to do with it. So let's not even give that any real shine
No,
for real, because
no,
this show
no,
is the
no, no.
bomb.
For me, it's funny because I'm like, okay, this guy is what, maybe 22, 23, living with his parents. You are talking to grown men. Do you understand this? You are making this threat to grown men. We're not even in the same league. And I kept talking about community. Like, dude, I'm not just here, like they're trying to do to gossip. It's edutainment, so people can learn. I'm not here to say I'm a pan-Africanist who are talking about, oh, we're here to connect people. That's not what this is about. This is about people learning, about facts. And sometimes it might
Facts
not
over
be
feelings.
over feelings, because people are saying things out of ignorance. But then when they are corrected, they get upset. Like if you look at it in the chat right now, we have, the chat is being bombarded with this stench of fish. Because, in school, not every student is going to learn, people. Not every student is going to learn. Like me.
Bombarded with the. Let me ask you a question. How much fish can I get for this? How much fish can I get for this?
Oh, you
How
can
how
get
many how many
several
BJs do you have to do to
several
earn this?
several baskets. Several,
See,
several
several
baskets.
baskets of rotten fish. This person just comes around trying to get some sort of notoriety, and she wants attention. Just
Yeah,
go
because
away. No one cares about that little dirty country. No one cares about you. Notice how she always whispering because she lives in one of them project houses. I think they call them
right.
council estates. So like, stop it. We over here,
That's the projects in the UK.
yeah, council estates.
So you see, when let me see, if you look at it, I live by the American creed of freedom of speech. You see, I allowed everybody to come here and express themselves, even the fish queen. So I do not try to block people to come and talk common sense. But once again, I thought we left illogical thinking in 2021, but apparently
They
some
just
people still are,
they coming looking for smoke.
yeah, they're looking for issues.
The crazy thing is, like, a lot of people are wondering what is this fish about? And this person is ignoring, trying to act like she doesn't know what the fish is about. The fish market, selling fish, we all know what that is, right?
Right.
Um, I would just bring her on. Let's have another conversation because she loves to
She's
be
not
in.
she's not in the back. She has to hit the link.
Oh, she's in the chat. But yeah,
She's
let
in
me
the
let me
chat.
explain to you what the fish is. Okay. Um, she sent me a recording. This person, I'm not naming any names,
Please
of her
don't.
getting smashed, in the massage parlor, right?
Uh-huh.
And she thought that it was going to be on some like erotic thing, like I was going to be beaten off to that shit. It was really just to get evidence that I could throw back in her face. Now, At the end of that session, it was an Indian. It was an Indian that was smashing. As a matter of fact, he didn't make a sentence, a statement. She did. She said, "When it smells like fish, if it doesn't smell like fish, that means it's not good sex." That's where the fish comment comes from.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. Well,
Her client said,
we have her in here. You want me to bring her?
"Yeah, bring her in. Ask her if she'll give me permission to release that audio."
Okay. All right. Oh, we have the African Fang. African Fang, how are you doing? Unmute yourself, African Fang.
Look at this. You see how you all are idiots to bring him here again? Because
No,
first of all,
who bring you? You brought yourself
you
here.
bring me. Just let me talk.
You brought yourself here.
No, you brought me because it's not my channel.
But you didn't have to hit the
You
link.
brought me. It's not my channel.
But did you want to be? Do you want to be here?
Channel, so you brought me because you want to hear. So here first, and then
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and then
do you agree with the story? Okay. Wait.
Yes, you brought me. Do you remember? You want to listen? You are not going to talk to me like you do to others because you want to talk too much.
It is my show, isn't it?
Exactly. That's why you brought me. So how? You don't see what you're saying?
So can you respond to what Nakmizi said?
Or you don't want to hear? You want to
go
hear
ahead.
or not?
Go ahead. We're listening.
So how do I know these stupid people that calls Nakmisi? He's nobody. Where in earth you can find Nakmisi? Nowhere. Nakmisi is a nobody person. He tried to feel like he's somebody online. First of all, he's a nobody. A person that tries to be a savior of the black skinned people, how can you do what you were doing? Because if people that you have people from Somalia, yeah, from the 50 deeps, yeah, with you are nobody. If they know what you're doing, you're nobody. You are a nobody. That's why you cannot with me.
Fang,
you cannot with me. That's why you try to talk about me.
Fang, what are you talking about?
Person.
Fang, what are you talking about?
So then, I'm telling you this. A person that
I don't have to sell my ass to make that.
His wife is a daughter or a grandchild of a white man.
Fang, let me ask you this. Fang, let me ask you this.
So you have to understand this.
Fang, let me ask you this question. Hold on.
The question is.
Let me ask you this. Fang,
what you are? You are African or Askisa? That's the question. Now, as I'm
hold on. I get to ask the question. Hold on. I'm the host here.
No,
I ask the question. Hold on.
A person that his ass comes from a triracial person.
No, I do not.
Are you an African or you are an Askisa? I'm asking you that.
Hold on.
I'm just some.
No, I am.
Afrodama, bring it right back to the statement that I made.
You are.
She's avoiding it.
Fang, can you
hating on Africans and you are on an African channel? Why are you here? It's ethnicity triracial, and your wife is a multiracial as you are, and is a light skin that only me is. Just shut the fuck up. So African.
All right, good.
Going.
Can you answer?
Okay,
can you answer what he said?
Keep going.
Fang, can you answer the question about when Nakmizi said about the fish? You were asking about it in the chat. He explained.
Because
he explained
his mother is a fish. If you want to say, because I don't consider myself a fish. Do you know how many Africans people, even from your country?
No, don't avoid the question. I made a very clear statement.
He is a person that his mother was opening legs for having those drug dealers to give him the drugs. Please.
Is that but that's not what the fish question is.
What is a fish question?
Let me ask her again.
Hold on, can you ask? Hold on, Fang. Let him ask. Fang, let him ask. Fang, let him ask.
Question. What is a fish?
Hold on.
Let me ask you the question.
I don't consider myself anything, but I know.
Let me ask you the question.
Call me. But you see, I'm still here, and why
I
you still
guess
accept me?
she doesn't
Yo,
wanna.
you
She
know, I
doesn't
She
live
don't
on
want
wanna.
to
planet
answer the question
fish
because she know.
because
Yeah, she's not
fish
going to
Canada is a
answer.
fish. Yeah, that's
Okay.
why his
Okay,
father
wait,
is
hold on.
dead.
I'll
All right.
mute her for a second and
His
put her
father is
backstage and
dead.
bring her back.
That's
Mute her or put her backstage,
no.
and I'll ask you a question after Damas.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you remember on my last live stream? Now, everybody in the chat, pay attention because when Nakmizi come, he comes with receipts. Some of the videos that I had already prepared because I knew she was going to come trolling me. Do you remember the one that I played when she admit to being a whore in massage salons?
Yes.
Okay, I have many more audios just like that. Audios where she says and she explains how her mother tried to get her into prostitution. She left, went back to her aunt, who ended up actually turning her on to prostitution. Her obsession with biracials and multiracials comes from the fact that her mom has a biracial kid from a trick. I would ask her this: can I release the audio of the Indian dude that was smashing you and you said out your mouth, and I quote, if it doesn't smell like fish, it's not good sex. People know me. People know when when I'm lying, but I don't lie. I keep it very 100. So bring her back on and ask her, why did she say to her client, if it doesn't smell like fish, it's not good sex?
Fang, are you here? She left. She's not going to answer. Look, I'm even. I don't even know why she's here because she knows it's going to be a problem. She's here to stalk you. Okay.
And that's the point. She called the FBI on me. She went to this guy's channel, all this stuff to try to make me lose my job. Obviously, that didn't happen. I'm still in my house. This woman is sick and obsessed. I don't think about her. I don't talk about her. I didn't release half of the shit that I have, except after she went public with her bullshit, right? I tried to teach this woman how to be safe in what she does. I said, look, please, when you give the BJs,
So
please
wait,
have the people wear condoms.
I thought maybe you guys were just having a diaspora war because you know how like Fang likes to talk about culture. So
Right.
I'm guessing that's why she came here. Like some of these people saying, "Oh, Afridamus, you're being messy." No, it's within the topic. I don't think you guys really understand. You know, if you're new in the channel, like and subscribe. And you might think this is messy, but you know well you want to hear these stories. I'm
So
fair
let me
and
break down the
neutral.
story. Let
I
me break
want
down the
people to hear.
story.
Yeah. Wait.
So
So
look,
so
y'all
so 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 literally you're speaking about something that has to do with the racial aspect of it, right? Because you're saying that she's obsessed with all this, you know. And I thought it was just a diaspora war that people like to say diaspora war. I thought that's what you guys have between each other. But I didn't know it was deeper than that. Can you
let me show you how
elaborate?
deep it goes. Let me show you how deep it goes. So it started as diaspora war. We were supposed to have a debate on a channel called Black American from Kobe. We had contact and she started telling me her story. Her story is so sad. It's so sad that I said, nah, I can't do this. I can't use this information in a bad way because her story's fucked up. You see what I'm saying? Like real bad. So you tend to feel bad for people like that. That's when the advice came in, like, yo, if you're gonna be doing that work, just be safe when you do it. You understand what I'm saying? And I think she's bipolar because she will go from calm and
No,
agreeable to crazy.
like,
Hold
yeah,
on,
I
hold on,
know.
brother. She'll go from
No,
calm. I mean,
like, I don't want her to to I don't know. This is getting crazy. I don't want her to.
Yeah, but she came here. We were cool
Yeah,
before she came.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
know
I
what? I'm not
know.
even gonna go there. I said what I said. She should just leave me
Yeah,
alone. She actually has videos on her channel where she
yeah,
called the police of the city that I sit in. She put my whole full name and called the FBI, then followed up with a report, an
yeah,
electronic report from the FBI. So look, what's war is war, but
yeah.
I
For
haven't
me,
been
like,
locked up.
because I look at what I observe and report on it, but I don't know. This one is just is wild. Is wild. I thought 2021 we're gonna leave all this back there, but apparently, like Mizzy, you're still on the hook.
No, because she's just crazy. It's not if it's not me, it's you or
Yeah.
Fish and Grits or whoever this black guy from the other channel is. She just likes to attack people
Okay.
because she's not happy in her life. Give me a second, brother. Give me a second.
Hold
Give
on,
me a
hold
second.
on,
Give me
like
a second.
Mizzy. Hold on. I want her honestly because
Okay.
you've spoken on her. I want to give her a chance to say what she want to say. But if you start insulting and all, Fang, I'll remove you. I don't want it to be drama, but I want to be fair, just to allow you to speak on it. And this would be the last time ever. Deal?
Specifically, why?
Okay.
Where did that
All
statement
right,
come
Fang.
from?
Okay, Fang, you want to respond to whatever, without insulting, and then that's that. I just want to be fair and balanced here.
I'm a fan. I am not the same as you are. I'm a fan. That's why we warriors. That's why you put me backstage because you don't want to see how
No,
strong
because you
we
were
are.
interrupting.
No, I'm
That's
not
why.
interrupting because you allow me now to speak because we have warrior. Look at this. This guy tried to be a fan first. This guy tried to be a funk. You look at this. I'm laughing at him. He tried to be a funk, and many of them trying to be a funk. We are how we are. You listen to me. That is how we are. We are not them. Yes. So this guy, I'm going to start. He came to copy his channels like it's like empower Edo's channel. That I know how he's going to end up with you too. I know you and him you're going to end up very bad because it was happens to him always in every single channel. Yeah. So because I am what I am, I'm not afraid of what I am. That is what I said. What I was doing. I have a lot of businesses. Sierra Leone, Gambia, Equatorial Guinea, South Africa, helping people as an investor. Do you think that I'm afraid of this guy or of you? Not.
I don't think you're
And
afraid.
every
You
single
should be
person
afraid
knows
of
what I'm
me.
doing, what I'm saying, what I do. This is part of the things I do.
Okay. Well,
No,
Do you
but
thank
say
think
you.
that
what
this?
you do.
Do you
Stop
think no?
glossing it
Just
over.
Hold
you
on,
want to
Say what
listen.
you do.
Fang.
You
What
said
are
that you want
you?
to listen, so you listen. Just mute him.
Okay, go ahead,
So
Fang.
this guy, I was in Kobe's channel, and I said, this guy is trying me. You don't know a fan, what a fan is. You don't know how fan we are act because we are not you. How can you be me to try to
What is a
say to me
Fang?
what I am if
What
you
is a
are not
Fang?
me? Yeah.
What is a
So
Fang?
this guy came, in Kobe's channel, like because like yourself, I read something from online. Online, what is online? You are not from the countries. You don't know what is
Okay,
going on in the
Fang,
countries.
Fang, Fang.
No, no,
Can
no.
you
I'm
hurry up
listening.
and wrap
Listen
it
to
up?
what I'm
I want to
Listen
get
to what
back
I'm
You
on
see,
the
saying.
she's
show.
These are
avoiding.
general
She's
things I'm
avoiding
trying
the
to
Fang.
say.
question. She's
The
avoiding
general
the
thing.
fish. Let's talk
You
about the
started
fish.
Okay,
El
Fang. I'm
pescado.
giving you an opportunity to respond, but you're taking too long. Can hurry up? You got 1 minute, and then I'm getting back to my topic.
So this
Hurry up.
guy came. This guy, huh? I have the screenshot. I like you. I'm in love with you. This guy. And yes, these guys, I have the screenshot, so don't laugh because I had them.
We all
And I
saw
have when you
unapologetic
come in the
Negroes.
video in your child, your daughters, if it's your daughter, in your daughter
Yeah, okay.
bedroom, how you come with your dick in it. Please, you shut the fuck up. I'm not like you,
Hmm.
okay?
All right. Okay, Fang, I
So
gotta remove
this,
you.
yeah,
You're getting,
no,
you're
let
getting
me finish.
crazy. Okay, this is.
Oh my God. She avoided the fish.
I
She
totally
avoided
didn't
that fish.
like. This is crazy. I didn't even think this. The first show in 2021. In first show 2021. Who do I have to host? Fang? Come on, people. I can't start it off like this. Pardon me. We'll get back to topic here. And like music, what do you have to say? Last word before I drop you, and then
I
we'll
don't
end
have
the
any
show.
last words. I said everything that I said, and I was forced to say it because she came on the stream that we were having. We were having a great conversation about Black American culture,
Right.
and she came in calling people idiots, insulting you, insulting me. People, pay attention. This woman has gone to the FBI, the police of the Netherlands, and to all kind of shows to try to slander me. But I'm still here. And when I put the hard question, she dances around everything. She won't say what she does. She says, I'm helping this one and I know what I do. No, say what you do. You see what I'm saying? The only reason I didn't release that audio was because it would probably fall under a certain law, and I won't do it. But I will ask her the question. What did she mean by if it doesn't smell like fish, it's not good sex?
Well,
Right?
she
And
would
she
have to
avoided that question.
answer that in another
And that is
channel.
a
I don't.
confirmation that the fish moniker stands.
Well, thank you so much for coming. Uh, I didn't know we were gonna go that way, but thank you, Nakmizi, for coming in. People, okay, I'm gonna end this on a good note. Okay, I see some of you saying, oh, this is a disgrace. You're here watching it. Why are you pretending like you are above this? This is what kills me about some people. So we're here, interacting with one another. Certain people act a certain way, they do certain things. So you just want to ignore, you know, that these people act this way? Come on. I didn't force Fang to come up here. You guys saw we were having a great conversation. I'm trying to give him the opportunity to get it out of her chest. And you guys heard it. And I bet you if I didn't let her speak, some of you are going to go back and be like, oh, Afridamus, why wouldn't you let Fang, you know, why wouldn't you let Fang speak? Why wouldn't you let her speak? But I let her speak, and I promise you, people, this is the last time we would have the Fang show based on this. Okay? This is wild. I knew when I put this cultural question, she will be here. But the question is she going to stick with the show? Obviously not. Obviously not. And then some of you are really funny. You say, oh, Afridamus, you want to be ADOS or whatever. Hey, when I did the other shows, you didn't say this, did you? So if I talk about, all the places I've talked about, I want to be those people. Come on, use common sense. Your jealousy is showing for the ADOS people because obviously, you're looking at them as above you. So therefore, Afridamus is trying to be ADOS. And you already see, they said they're telling you who they are, what their culture is about, but yet you don't want to listen. You want to focus on the host. So I'm going to bring in Hawir to give his last statement, before we close out this show. That right there threw me off for a loop, okay? It threw me off for a loop. I'm telling you. I mean, just like you're sitting there. Do you think I wanted to, sit here? I knew the fish story was coming. I didn't know this, but somehow it just popped up on me. It's like it hit me on the head, and I know a lot of you have enjoyed it. Do not pretend. Do not pretend. Okay? We have H Block for the last word. H Block, go for it.
Hey, thanks, man. I just wanted to say that uh, people need to stop, this cultural wars between, African Americans and Africans and Caribbeans. And at the end of the day, we all black, and we all, we might have our differences, we might have
But wait,
different cultures.
do you believe, like, when you, because again, like when you say we all black, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you would hear people say, I'm not black. So you have to clear that part, because I want the understanding to start from, you know, um,
Well, so
like
when
people to
people,
truly understand what they are talking about.
okay, when people say they're not black, like they're not understanding what black is. So
Hmm.
black is a race, so you have your culture. If you say you're not black, you're Nigerian, that's
Hmm.
two different things. Because
Right.
Nigeria is ethnicity, that's where you're from. But black is your race. So if you're black, you can be black in America, but you can have different cultures. Like I'm black, but I'm also at the same time I'm Somali American. But I identify myself as a black man, not to be mistaken as African American, because I didn't live their history. They have their own culture, they have their own history, so I don't want to hijack their history. I'm not African American, but I'm
Right.
black, if that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. And I'm glad you mentioned the Somali Bantu also. At some point I'll do that topic here as well. Even though I know some people these topics are uncomfortable, but it's our reality. And it's not meant for people to fight each other. It's meant for education, for people to know about each other. That's all what it
Yeah,
is. But
I
yeah,
mean, like we can have debate, we can have a heated argument without disrespecting each other. You can get your point across, what you need to say, without putting other people down, without talking bad about other people, because we all
right.
humans at the end of the day, and no one is
Absolutely.
perfect. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
has bad and good in their culture. So it's
Absolutely.
just hypocrisy when someone try to put somebody else down and doesn't see the problem in his own culture.
It makes no sense. That's because
Absolutely.
they lack that self understanding. This is why the
Right.
Afridamus report exists, so that people can have that self awareness. But thank you, Javier. You're always welcome here. Okay, I didn't want to do this, but last word. I'm gonna let this individual speak, but if it if it's insulting, I would remove the person right away. Okay, Fang, you have the last word. You got 2 minutes. No, 1 minute. Sorry.
Don't worry, I don't speak too much. I don't like to speak too much either. So I'm not insulting. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm sorry. It's my blood. I'm sorry. So this is, look at this, Afridamus. So you have to understand that you first, and you are an African. You have family in Africa.
Fang, this is not about me, okay? Like,
No, I'm
trust me,
telling,
I know that I
explaining.
have family. Look, this is not about me. I don't need you to tell me if I have, people in Africa. Trust me. Even if I try to forget, they would WhatsApp me, okay? Because it's in their interest to WhatsApp me. So let's not
Exactly
even talk.
the same.
Let's
So
not
then
talk.
don't try to tell
Okay,
about
let's
my
not
country
talk
too.
about me.
But
Let's
we
talk
want to
about
talk
the
about what
topic.
he's trying to say about here. Yes. Okay.
Let's stick with the
Yes.
topic, okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
We got this. So Black Americans have a culture by themselves? No, they don't have a culture. They don't. Because every single thing that they have is because of us Africans. We have the ancestors. African ancestors, I'm not talking about the white or Asian, whatever they have in the blood. With us Africans, they cannot be. So if they try to insult Africans, they are insulting their own ancestors.
But what about Africans insulting them?
Because they are insulting us first. That's why I started my channel.
But
Because
how do you
believe
know
me,
this? You don't even live in America.
astonished when I found this because of YouTube. No, because
Oh.
I'm not that much online. Believe me, I'm not that much online.
So then you
I'm like
started
3 minutes
seeing the
online.
videos?
No, I'm not that much online. I know you because of the that Kenyan by marriage. Yeah, I'm not online that much. I'm like 3 minutes online every day. That's how I met you, because of this guy. And then when I saw these African Americans hated on Africans because of YouTube recommending me videos, I was like, what the? Yes, I was astonished. And I was like, why these people are hating so much on us? And they still on in our channels. Your channel, my channel, every single African channel, but not talking about themselves, what's going on in their own communities, but us. That's what I like Brandon, because at least Brandon talk about his community. Yeah. So I was astonished. They don't have culture. So that's what always I say. With an African, doesn't matter where in Africa, and I know the East African were enslaved because my auntie told me Kenyan people were into slavery, and the people from Kenya area,
Who
yes,
enslaved them?
Kikuyu, went into the
Wait,
American slavery.
You
Yeah?
said the Kikuyu was enslaved?
Yes.
Wait, Fang, didn't you hear Dr. K say they were not? What are you?
They were. I'm sorry. That's
Okay,
why
you
I'm
know what? Next
listening.
time
That's
I
why
do
I'm
that
listening
show,
people talking.
next time I do that show, you have to call in so you correct Dr. K, because that's what he was saying here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for coming. Happy 2022, and I'm glad you kept your composure towards the end. Thank you for coming. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we have DMF for the last word. DMF, unmute yourself. DMF, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here loud and clear. I just wanted to say, right? Can you unblock me off the chat so I can write as well, because it's not fair, you know where I'm coming from. But I just wanted to add.
You're supposed to be able to chat.
No, I mean when I'm typing to write in the comment section.
You can't type?
No, when I'm typing, I'm not allowed to. Like the messages are not showing on your live. So
Okay.
you know what I mean? That's what I was. But
Okay,
I just wanted to add. I just wanted to add the last words to what you're saying about Africans fighting, obviously having an argument with Black Americans, right? I think what it is that for a long time, Black Americans have been insulting Africans, right? And that's the fact. When you if you look back in the 90s, the comedy shows, they'll make obviously the African and all this stuff that they do, and with the comedy and taking a piss out of the way we speak and stuff like that. So Africans have got to the stage where Africa is now developing. It's coming up. As much as it may be dusty or whatever it may be today, Africa is developing to a point whereby Africa is going to be the future. You see what I'm saying? So when Black Americans, the Africans turn around and say, "Well, we sold you," I don't think it's something that Africans want to say. I think it's more to do with the frustration of having to have endured all those years of not being recognized. And I speak for myself when I say I remember going to school, and when I first came over here, and I'll get bullied in school because of the way I spoke, because I had the African accent. Right. So when I spoke, people would obviously take the mick out of me, or this is 1990, and all this other stuff. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And you see, after a while, this builds up resentment, and then what happens is that when we go through that trauma, years later, as you've established yourself, you're now not going to take the rubbish from those people that you felt like oppressed you. You see what I'm saying? So I think Black Americans need to understand that it's a two-way thing. You cannot have your cake and eat it. You cannot insult people for so many years. I mean, if you go on the comedy shows, if you look on the 90s comedy shows, they took the mick out of Africans for so long. Even now, they still do it in their sketches. I'm sure you know
Like,
what I'm talking about, right?
like what comedy show you talking about?
I'm talking like, for example, when you look, I don't know if you've seen what's it called, that Russell Simmons show. I can't remember the name, but you know,
you mean In Living Colors?
maybe that as well. But then there's
But
this other.
that's not
there's
about
this
Africans.
No, it's not about African, but you know, like how you typecast a people. Like, for
No,
example, like if there's a typecast Chinese, they know they've got a way of, you know, making them look. And if they typecast like an Indian, they've got a way of making it. If they typecast an African, they've got a way
no,
of
but
making them look. And
that's not
you know,
black
I mean,
people
people,
doing that.
yeah, because you
If
know,
you're talking about Living
not
Color
been,
or Def Jam, are you
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about Def
yeah,
Jam comedy?
yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Def Jam. So you see, this is like, for example, as I said to you, this is not just the comedy show. This is what Africans had to endure. You see what I'm coming? This is not just on entertainment. This is also socially, as we maybe come from Africa to Europe or to America. We had certain, obviously, ways that we were treated that were not right.
But don't you think, you know, like, isn't it okay, like, are you saying it's not okay to make fun of Africans?
No, I'm not. You know, not everyone can take a joke.
Well,
Would you agree with that?
No, I don't mind jokes.
Yeah,
Jokes,
I
like,
know.
it's okay.
You don't mind. You
Yeah,
don't mind,
like,
but before due respect, you don't represent the whole of Africa. Just like I don't represent
no,
the whole of
that's
Africa.
what I
Yeah,
get
so
that, but don't
yeah.
you think now, you know, when people talk about, because you're speaking of the bullying, but
Yes.
but that has nothing to do with whether they have culture or not, though. But
No, I'm not. This is not. I'm just talking about the resentment. You know, when people say I sold you, you know when they're talking about I sold you, this is all coming from a place of maybe they've had a lot of hardship in terms of being able to integrate into the society, whether it's Europe or in the States.
but you know, you're
that's just
referencing TV. That's not real life.
no. I just distinguish between TV and real life, and I said to you, society. I did not just focus on entertainment. I said to you, it happens in TV, it happens socially, and it happens economically. But you see, what it is that most Africans are hardworking. So even when they come to America or when they come to the Europe, they work hard. They'll take any jobs just to make ends meet. You see where I'm coming from? And then once they elevate, I'm talking from seeing my uncles and my aunties and other cultures I know which come under the banner of ethnic people. That's what they do. A lot of these kind of people, they were born maybe in the UK or they were born in the US, and then you see the Africans will come and get they'll maybe within 2 years, just like yourself, they'll build a business. They'll do the things that they have to do in order to move on in life. You see where I'm coming from? So it's not just about, I just used entertainment as one of the examples, but entertainment is not the end of everything I'm talking about. Entertainment is just a little scope of what I'm trying to project, that the way obviously things went for us.
You went way beyond your closing statement. I got
no doubt.
And then,
yeah, no doubt.
Thank you.
No doubt. Yeah.
Thanks, bro. Okay. All right. We have Cosmo, and then we'll have Nakmizi to close out. And I won't take any more calls. So guys, please don't call in. Cosmo, you are up.
Hey, I just wanted to call in because I feel like a lot of people don't really understand the history of like African immigration to America. And like when you look at the statistics on it, the average African person who comes here is roughly around the age of like 46. So like if you go 2 standard deviations, that means the vast majority of Africans coming over here are like over 30. So all these notions like about like, I grew up in the 90s, so like all these notions about like Africans being called African booty scratcher and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you know, I've heard that the African booty scratcher thing, and I mean, it's funny actually, but I mean,
See,
just keep
so
going.
my understanding of African,
Maybe is it because like they showed us pictures of like, I mean, to be honest, some of those pictures, like the kids are ashy in the picture, and knowing black people, they're gonna make fun of you if you're ashy like that.
yeah. So
Even when I was growing up, to be honest, like in my school, if you're ashy, they'll make fun of you, and that's in Africa. If you're ashy, just like black people
they
make
do that
fun
here
of it.
too. Yeah.
So maybe that's why I don't mind it. But either way,
Yeah,
go ahead.
but the other thing too I wanted to say about it is where I was from, there wasn't really that many like African people. So like the from my growing up experience around Black Americans, the comment of African booty scratcher was typically given to people who were just darker. So it was more like a colorism thing than it was like an actual disdain towards
This day.
Africans or anything like that.
All right. Well said. Thank you. You're always welcome here, Cosmo. And now we have Nakmizi. Nakmizi for the win. Go for it, Nakmizi. Nakmizi, can you hear me? I guess we lost Nakmizi. Well, now I will do the closing then, since Nakmizi is nowhere to be found. Ladies and gentlemen, as you
Now
know.
I'm here. I was
Oh,
backstage, bro.
oh, my bad. Okay, Nakmizi for the win. I'm like, what? I'm like, where is he at? Okay, go ahead, Nakmizi.
Nah, man, it was a good show in the beginning. Then it got derailed. But I like if we
But
close on
we're
a high
back on
note.
track. We're back on track.
We're back on track.
Yeah,
I think we should have a show where we really talk. I guess we've already done it, but when people talk about the schoolyard taunts, that's light work. Black Americans did that to each other, and like I said before, every adolescent group cracks jokes on each other. When you want to talk about how the Africans are treated in India, literally lynched and killed in India by mob violence, that's a different story. You want to talk about the Caribbeans versus the Africans in London, that's a different story. What they complain about in America is that they got snapped on. You got to understand that America was built on violence, land grabbing, and survival of the fittest.
that's right.
So there's a price for that money that you can make in America. You got to have some thick skin. So if it's too much for you, then you may want to rethink your choice of where you want to move. But that's light work. People say, "Oh, it was beat up a Haitian day and it was doing this." Everybody got snapped on, man. Everybody got snapped on. That's why Black Americans are some of the best at snapping on people because we grew up with that shit. We perfected it. So don't my message to my African long lost family is that don't let jokes stop you from getting your bag, and no African does. But when we get in these chats, it's like, oh, they used to make fun of us. That shit is weak sauce, for real, for real. Like y'all don't have no things where it was beat up Africans and beat up Haitians. That shit stopped. And I don't even think that shit really existed. People are gonna fight each other, but it wasn't really on no xenophobic shit like that in America. That was London. Peace.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's bringing us to the end of another edition of the Afridamus Report. Um, I want to thank all of you that called in, all the viewers. I know some people think they're above, some of the conversation we have. That's okay too, but they are real life. But either way, we came back on track. Fang came back on track. Everyone came back on track. So everything is good. If there's anything we've learned here today, some of you are learning that, yes, your idea of what culture is, that's not what it is. In fact, Black Americans do have a culture. You don't expect them to practice the culture that you know from your tribe in Africa because they are not part of that. So hopefully you can remove your ideas from that. And also using the flat black, flat blackness. Because sometimes some black people also, they would do that. They're like, man, you ain't black. No, not everybody is black. Just like not everybody is from whatever African tribe. But through these conversations, we will get to understand one another. That's what I'm here to do. It's uncomfortable, then becomes comfortable at some point. But I will be back again probably tomorrow or the next day. I have several topics in mind that I want to present, that I want us to talk about. Because you see, when I bring these topics, it doesn't mean it's supposed to be about fighting. It's edutainment, meaning education and entertainment intertwine together. So that's why sometimes you see it gets really, really heated, and I'm not here to do like to say, oh, the kumbaya thing. I'm not here to fix anybody's, hang-ups they have in their head about other people. But all I can do is, show things. And sometimes people act like it is personal, as if I'm talking about them, but I'm not. It's about what people see. So I want to thank you guys for coming in. We can agree to disagree, but for the most part, it's all respect and in love. That's what 2022 is going to be about. And it's not about, oh, you belong to this group or that group. You're the one that is trying to tag me or other people with whatever labels you think I should be. Maybe it's important to let me tell you, who I am and how I see the world. So until next time, enjoy your Saturday. Happy 2020.
Well, none of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots, yeah. None of them can hide from the truth, yeah. Children have to go back to the roots. I'm telling you now, the truth, telling you, yeah, the truth. You have to go back to the roots, go to the roots. Yeah, man, this is Benjamin out of the Smiling Coast, West Africa, Gambia, representing for the one and only Abu, the big man you don't know, the Soninke warrior, the man that brings the truth. Soninke warrior, the sign of enlightenment.